These laps are counted in the 200 laps or the 500 miles, and off they go. The green flag is out, and there you see the paper flying up as the drivers pour the coal to it as they go in to the official green flag start. And taking the lead immediately is Junior Johnson in the 63 Chevy. Look at him go. And hanging right on behind him is Paul Goldsmith in the 63 Pontiac. These Chevys have shown incredible speed here all during speed weeks at the Daytona International Speedway, and it was expected that they would go right to the fore as soon as they got the green flag. And there goes Junior Johnson as Paul Goldsmith is hooked onto him, and he was the only one able to get the draft. The question, of course, will be, how can they keep up the pace? And in the pits this afternoon, perhaps we'll be told the story of this 63 running of the Daytona 500. And Junior Johnson flashes by with Goldsmith right on his tail in the suction of that first car, and they have a good lead over the rest of the field. Junior Johnson is still setting the pace in car number 3, and Paul Goldsmith is still right behind him, and we've got a great battle going on for third place right now. A.J. Foyt, Fireball Roberts, Rex White, all in there battling for spot number 3, but Junior Johnson and Paul Goldsmith have the lead at this particular spot. 63 Chevy and a 63 Pontiac out in front. And we have been getting some very fast speeds. During the first 10 laps, under the caution light, they were running just about 91 miles an hour. But since that time, they've been up around 160. And here is car number 3. Junior Johnson is coming into the pits. And, of course, this will mean a new leader. Here comes Junior Johnson in for an unscheduled pit stop. So apparently, he's got some trouble. And we have the new leader. Paul Goldsmith has streaked into the lead in the 63 Pontiac as Junior Johnson has come into the pit area. We're trying to find out. The only word we have, Chris Economiki's gone over to try to find out, and he's pointed down to underneath the engine, so apparently it's something wrong underneath the hood, and that could mean trouble for Junior Johnson, a hard luck guy from Rhonda, North Carolina. And here comes one into the pits right now. We'll put the glasses on him. This looks like Paul Goldsmith coming into the pits, and if it is, we're going to have a new leader at this point. Let's catch him. It's a 63 Pontiac. It is. Paul Goldsmith is coming into the pit area. So there is another unscheduled pit stop, and Goldsmith is coming in. So just in the last 2 laps, we've lost the first and second place cars, and it means that A.J. Foyt has now taken over the lead. So let's watch very closely. Chris, if you're close by, let's get on this one of Goldsmith, see what happens.
They're in car number 01 with the Ray Nichols pit crew. Paul Goldsmith sitting contentedly. The right rear tire and the right front tire are actually smoking. This is the first time we've ever seen that here at the Daytona International Speedway. However, the tires are not being changed. It is strictly a refueling stop, and they're telling them to put oil in. It looks as though they're going to add oil. No, the hood goes back up again. The oil has to be added. Goldsmith wanted oil. They're being talked to. He's the most calm man in the automobile, as this crucial pit stop is taking an extra long time because of the addition of oil to this 1963 Pontiac.
Okay, well, unofficially, Chris, we got him in there for 61 seconds, and that is very precious time in this race because they're running laps in under a minute right now, so that you can figure at least cost him 1 lap, in addition to the speed-up time and getting out. And, of course, we might mention that whenever they're putting oil in an engine, it could be kind of bad news. So A.J. Foyt, who is a former Indianapolis winner, is getting a real battle for first place. There's Rex White next to him, and moving up very fast is G.C. Spencer in car 03. Look at him go. Well, that's the kind of acceleration that they said these Chevys had, and he shows it right here as he takes the lead on the inside. We've got our timer now on the lead car, G.C. Spencer. Now, you can figure that if it takes about 54, 55 seconds, they're running better at 163 miles an hour, around 2.5 miles of track. Down the backstretch they go. G.C. Spencer in the lead, and he is getting a pretty good challenge here, and Rex White is going to take the lead. Rex White and A.J. Foyt in the draft. Moves right by. Very nice piece of driving by A.J. Foyt, who moves right in behind Rex White. And we still have our timer on G.C. Spencer, so it'll give you a rough idea of how fast these leaders are moving. Johnny Rutherford holds the one-lap record, 166.161 miles an hour. Set in the qualifying runs. Here they come, very close to the finish line now. 55 seconds flat. And on our speed chart, unofficially, 163.63 miles per hour for G.C. Spencer on that particular lap. But he has lost the lead, and it's been jockeying back and forth as we've had 4 different leaders. And now Johnny Rutherford is in the pits, and Chris Economaki going close there to see what's happened to this popular favorite.
Well, Johnny Rutherford, car 13, is in the pits. He's not running in the first 5 at the moment. He's getting a cool drink of water. It's strictly a routine stop with refueling and a windshield cleaning job being the only work that's taking place on this black and gold number 13. A very quick stop. And back to you, topside, Bill Fleming.
All right, A.J. Foyt still battling up there for the lead with Rex Wyatt and G.C. Spencer. And these 3 cars have been jockeying back and forth, each taking a shot at it. We've had 6 different leaders now in the race, and it gives you a rough idea of how closely competitive these cars are. Here's Rex Wyatt in the lead, and look at the challenge he's getting from Spencer. Blows him right off as Spencer takes the lead once again. Right now, Spencer in the Chevy in the lead. Foyt in the Pontiac in second place. Larry Frank in a Ford. And Freddie Lorenzen, car number 28 in a Ford, also in there very close. Fireball Roberts in the Pontiac. Boy, they have been bunched in a little cluster like this for practically the entire race since the early going. And as far as the early going was concerned, 2 of our early leaders have dropped out. Paul Goldsmith in a 63 Pontiac went out on the 39th lap. He had a broken piston ring. If you recall, earlier he stopped for oil, and that was one of the reasons. He was pumping oil on him, and finally she cut loose, and he is out of the race. Spencer, Foyt, Johns, Frank Lorenzen, and Jarrett running right in there, and they are jockeying back and forth. We've had a dozen lead changes. We've had 6 different leaders so far. Boy, it's really been a blistering pace, 144.362 miles an hour for the first 70 laps, and that is tremendous when you realize they ran the first 10 laps under the caution light. And there you see Spencer and A.J. Foyt running fender to fender, and Bobby Johns on the outside, and now we've got 4 of them abreast as Freddie Lorenzen and Larry Frank move into the lead. So Lorenzen in there and Larry Frank drafting him, and they're leaving the other ones behind. So we've got 2 63 Fords who have taken over the lead and broken G.C. Spencer's hold on it there for some time, and also A.J. Foyt's. They have dropped back. And now pit area activity starting to increase considerably as these cars will be coming in for their second scheduled pit stop, and therein lies a very important element in this race. In fact, coming into the pit area right now is car number 15 pulling into the apron, and it's into the pit area right now. Chris?
Cornelli Jones come in with a flat right rear tire, sliding to a stop as Bill Stop and his Mercury pit crew crawl all over it for a change of tires here and routine refueling. He is the fastest driver on the Mercury team entered in today's race. Cornelli Jones, the man who broke the 150-mile-an-hour barrier at Indianapolis. And there's that absolutely shredded tire being picked up now and dragged behind. It's red hot. He had to drop it. The crewman had to drop the tire. It's too hot to handle there by the rear corner of the car. The work is done. The gas cap has been put on, and away he goes. Back to you, Bill Fleming.
Okay, and a good pit stop by Cornelli Jones' crew. Bill Strop, the chief mechanic on that one. And right now, Freddie Lorenzen is getting a real chase. These cars are running 4, 5, 6 feet apart at tremendous speeds right now. So Lorenzen in the lead, and we'll try to get a clocking here on just how fast he's going. Remember, if he does it in 55 seconds, he's doing about 163 miles an hour. Freddie, very popular, a bachelor, handsome young fellow, formerly from Elmhurst, Illinois, and now calls Charlotte, North Carolina, his home. Very popular, naturally, among the Bobby Sox set at the track, and really wanting to win this 500 here today. Incidentally, we just got a note that Larry Frank, running in car 06, is not in second place because he was penalized for pulling into the wrong pit area earlier. So really, right now, although Frank does not know this, he is running back in the pack, and Ned Jarrett in car number 11 is running second. So there you have the 263 Fords, Lorenzen and Jarrett, and in 54 seconds, that roughly gives him, well, unofficially, almost 166 miles an hour. And here comes Fireball Roberts into the pits. Fireball running in that pack. Staying right up there within 4, 5, or 6 all the time. He's coming into the pit area. Chris, if you can give us a quick word on him. Chris Kanamaki.
Okay, here's the leader, Fireball Roberts, in the pits now. Boy, and I think Banjo Matthews, his crew chief, working furiously there. He's getting oil in addition to gasoline. They're leaving Fireball all alone. He's chewing gum very placidly, very contentedly in the pits. He knows he's doing well as a defending champion in this 500 today with a car that was not given a chance in the pre-race pickings. Okay, Bill Fleming.
All right, and Fireball rolls up the window, and we've got him out in 34.2 seconds. A very fine pit stop. Okay, and here is Freddie Lorenzen pulling into the pit area right now, which means we're going to have a new leader. It would mean that Bobby Johns will be taking over the lead at this point in car 7A. And Ned Jarrett in there very close. So Freddie Lorenzen getting a drink of water. And Chris, if you can make a comment here about Lorenzen and how he's doing.
Air Jacks, he's licking his lips. He's had a drink. He's waiting for the last tank of gas to go in. Remarkable work on the part of the pit crews, finishing the tire change before the fueling. And there he goes. Okay, take it upstairs, Bill Fleming.
An excellent pit stop by Fred Lorenzen, and one that means a great deal at this point because Bobby Johns has taken over the lead, but Bobby's going to have to make a pit stop. And here he comes, right in right now on the apron. Bobby Johns coming in to the pit area. Chris, if you can get down there quickly, let's get the story on him because he has now lost the lead. Jarrett has moved in. Let's see how quickly he can get out of this pit.
Bobby Johns in the pits, making a very slow entry. His father, crew chief here, swarming all over the car. It looked for a while like he may have run out of gas. So Papa Johns is running around very excited here. Now they're going to open the hood on this number 7A Pontiac. Johns was the leader up until the time he moved into the pits for this routine pit stop. But the hood is up, and this means difficulties under the hood. The air cleaner is being taken off the car. He needs a pair of pliers to lift the air cleaner, and now they've run into problems, important, time-consuming problems on this Pontiac number 7A with Bobby Johns. As soon as the gasoline is through going in the back, then the pit becomes overlong. They're pouring gasoline. They're pouring gasoline, and the car's on fire. The car's on fire. There's fire there. His father's on fire. Now, the fire extinguishers come into the pits here. Bobby Johns' father's hands caught fire. He poured gasoline under the hood. The fire's been extinguished, and it looks as though this may be the end. His father's hands are badly burned, and they've got to button the hood down, and he goes away. Okay, Bill Fleming, take it away.
Okay, Chris, a few very anxious moments there, and they're still trying to get that hood buttoned down. Bobby anxious to get out of that, but now they got the bolt in, and he's off and away, but it cost him well over a minute. So Ned Jarrett has moved into the lead, and Freddie Lorenzen also in there battling for the lead at this point. These cars are only 4 feet apart. Freddie Lorenzen and Ned Jarrett running 1 and 2 right now, those 63 Fords. And they have about a 10.5 second lead on the 3rd and 4th place cars. And there you see him, Fireball Roberts is in number 3 spot right now, car number 22, and Tiny Lund is right behind him in car number 21. And right now we have 3 Fords in the top 4 cars. And we have the last scheduled pit stops coming up very shortly. 27 cars still running in this race. And that means that we've had 22 of them drop out. Actually 23 since Kurt Kreider also started the race. Paul Goldsmith, Junior Johnson, Jimmy Hurtubise, A.J. Foyt, Len Sutton, all out with mechanical trouble. And Bobby Johns is doing a great job despite that fire in the pit. He's still in there in 7th place right now. So the pit stops are going to be the critical portion of this race right now as the cars move into the final 45 laps. And we'll see who's going to pit first. Here's a car slowing down. And it is Freddie Lorenzen who'll be coming into the pits. So, Chris, get on this one because this is a very important pit stop. Freddie Lorenzen coming in He's got 43 laps to run. That's just under 110 miles to go. So Lorenzen will come in and get fuel and try to get out quickly. We'll time his stop. Chris?
And here's Lorenzen in the pits. He's wanting work done. He's yelling orders at his pit crew. Only a certain number of men can be over the thing. He's yelling something in his ear. Oil. He's yelling for oil here. It looks like they're going to open up the hood. He wants oil in the car as the fuel is being added. The tires have been pronounced okay. They're handling oil out there. And the gas tank is, this may cost him the race, is having to add oil. It's taking an extra few seconds. The oil is in, the cap is on. They're finishing up the exhausting. The hood is down. And they're putting the fasteners on with Freddie Lorenzen standing by, anxiously awaiting the go sign. And there he goes. In his own rag. He's going out of the pit, wiping his own windshield and taking away Bill Fleming.
All right, Chris, 38.1 seconds, and that could be very critical because actually Jarrett and Lund, here comes Jarrett, we'll time his. Jarrett and Lund could conceivably take on fuel faster than Lorenzen took on fuel and oil. Now, Jarrett moving into the pit area, and now another car coming in, and this will be Tiny Lund. Tiny Lund will have 40 laps to go, so he's almost run a perfect race. That would be 100 miles on a 22-gallon tank of gas. Chris?
And here's Tiny Lund. The fellow who got this ride for his heroic efforts is pulling Marvin Panch out of his burning sports car. Was named to drive the car as Panch is being covering. Tiny Lund doing a great job at car number 21. Waiting for his service. He's the leader. He inherited the lead when Lorenzen and Jarrett stopped, and he's trying to hang on to it now with the pit stop, getting close to the half-minute mark, and away he goes. Take it, Bill Fleming.
Oh, there is a tremendous pit stop, Chris, of Tiny Lund, 26 and 9/10 seconds. We were timing Jarrett unofficially, and he had 36 seconds, and Lorenzen had 38.1, so there is your leader right now, Tiny Lund, with a brilliant job by his pit crew, and these two will be following him. And the question would be, can they go the rest of the way with the fuel they've got in their tanks? Freddie Lorenzen out there in front, and this may be by design. It may be that Tiny Lund wants him to get out there. It takes more fuel to break the wind. And Lund, staying in the suction of that car, naturally could conserve a little bit of fuel. At this point in the race, the tires are wearing, the fuel running low, and the driver's getting tired, and this is where things are really tough. The last 15 laps of any race, and particularly at the speeds that we've had here today. Now, Lund is making his move. Oh, there is car number 22 on the back stretch, and that is Fireball Roberts, and he is going to be through for the day. There you can see the car smoking very badly, and he has blown his engine in that 63 Pontiac, and a tough break for him. So, Tiny Lund now trying to take Freddie Lorenzen on the outside, and he's got him. And I'm sure that the pit crew of Freddie Lorenzen is very anxious now of whether Freddie can go all the way. The Ford's running 1, 2, and 3. In fact, they're running 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Because Nelson Stacy and Dan Gurney in Fords are 1 lap behind. And then Dick Petty in a 63 Plymouth is running 6th. So he has broken the grip of the Fords. But they still have 1 through 5 at this point. Bobby Johns doing a great job after that unfortunate pit fire is now in 7th place, and he is driving a Pontiac. And Joe Weatherly in 8th place, also in a Pontiac. And look how close Lorenzen is on Tiny Lund. Boy, we've got a dandy going here today at Daytona Beach, Florida. The 63 running of the 500, and it couldn't be a closer race. We've had the lead change at least 25 times during the course of the afternoon. We've had a dozen different leaders. We've had some of the top cars drop out of the race. But right now, with Fireball Roberts out of it, it's a 3-car race. Boy, it's just impossible to tell at this point which one of these 3 cars could win the race. Fuel, tires, and of course driver fatigue all entering into the final moments of any race. Lorenzen is coming into the pit area. Ned Jarrett has taken over the lead. Tiny Lund is in 2nd place. And Chris, if you're close by, Lorenzen is in your area. He's coming in, I'm sure, for fuel. Chris?
And this cost them the race. The strategy on gasoline did not pay off. They're giving him a precautionary few gallons of gas, just enough to get him back in the race, and it cost Freddie Lorenzen the race for all practical purposes. Burning rubber, pulling out of the pits there, spinning wheels. But it's too late, unless, of course, Jarrett and Lund have to stop. Take it, Bill Fleming.
Okay, Chris, and of course that's the thought that everybody has right now. Can Jarrett and Lund go the rest of the way? That cost Freddie Lorenzen about 30 seconds in there, although it only took him a little over 10 seconds unofficially to get that fuel. Of course, slowing down and then getting back up to speed cost him. Nose to nose, fender to fender, wheel to wheel, call it what have you, but there's not more than a half a car length ever separating these two cars as they jockey back and forth for position. Ned Jarrett in the lead right now, former Grand National NASCAR champion in 1961, and Tiny Lund, who's never won the big one, who's been in racing for 18 years, and who still has to win that great big pot of gold. And here's Lorenzen, still trying to pick up some ground, putting his foot into it, but he's got too much ground to make up. He's hoping that somebody's going to falter here in front of him. But the leaders, here they are, Jarrett and Lund, have a good half a lap on Fred Lorenzen at this point. And there is Jarrett dropping down. Jarrett has dropped down, and I think he's coming into the pit area. Tiny Lund has shot into the lead, and here comes Jarrett. Chris Economaki, if you're there, here is Jarrett.
The second gasoline victim coming in with car number 11 for just a few pints of gas with only 3 laps to go. Then Jarrett has to give up to fight for the lead to get a few precious drops of fuel in this number 11 Ford, leaving it to Tiny Lund of Highland, Iowa, in car 21 out in front. There they've given him just enough, about 10 seconds worth, and away he goes. Take it, Bill Fleming.
Okay, officially 8 4/10 seconds, but slowing down and picking up speed again has cost him about 25 seconds. So Tiny Lund, a fellow who didn't even have a car here 2 weeks ago, is in the lead, and he could very well wrap things up in one of the richest stock car races of all time, the Daytona 500. And here he is, Tiny Lund, and he'll be starting on the last lap. So Tiny Lund is out there all alone, and unofficially I've got him 24 seconds ahead of Freddie Lorenzen, and he's got a good 30 seconds on Ned Jarrett. Don't want to overlook the fact that Nelson Stacy is 4th and Dan Gurney is 5th. They're 2 laps behind. And then Dick Petty in the 63 Plymouth is in 6th place. Bobby Johns, doing a great job, is in 7th in the 63 Pontiac. And then Joe Weatherly is in 8th. But here's the guy that everybody has been chasing, Tiny Lund. He's driven a tremendous race, and you can bet that if he can just finish now, his pit crew will get a tremendous amount of credit for the job of engineering they did here today. The checkered flag is out, and here he comes. Under the checkered flag, Tiny Lund has taken it, and this really is a big victory for him.
Tiny, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Congratulations. Here's your wife over here, looks so elated. Tiny, you've just won $25,000. What will you folks do with it?
Pay our bill.
Pay our bills and add to our fishing camp.
I know you have a fishing camp
Yes.
across South Carolina. Tiny, you've been racing more than half your life. You got married at a racetrack, didn't you?
Yes, sir. 18 years I've been racing.
And this is probably your biggest day.
Biggest, very biggest.
Well, congratulations to a wonderful couple, Mr. and Mrs. Tiny Lund, formerly of Highland, Iowa, now living in Cross, South Carolina, and the turbulence in victory lane for 2 great people.
Relax.
You
I
what?
was out of gas for the last 4 laps.
You were out of gas when you took the checkered flag?
Yes, sir.
Out of gas, taking the checkered flag. Words from a winner, Tiny Lund.